Alright, well, welcome to Drawing Bootcamp. We are going to start out over the next, we're going to start out today with a multi-tiered lessons that we're going to work on in our sketchbook. We're going to start with some basic fruit drawings. So today we're going to work on this, just a bunch of grapes. We're going to be drawing the grapes and then the cast shadow that's there. So let's talk about a couple things. One, we want to set up our page. This one being landscape, it is longer and it is taller. We want to put a border around the page. Alright, it doesn't have to be perfect, just want to sketch those things in. This is just really, as we start talking, you can already see as I'm doing this, you may want to put some notes, some reminders, some terms, that kind of stuff around this piece. Now, since you already see my notes started, first thing we're going to focus on today is composition. Alright, and you always want to think about that first. It's basically the plan, or it's how all the objects are going to work on the page. Now we're working with a photograph already. That doesn't mean we can't change or alter the composition to really fit what we want to do. Alright, so first thing I want to start out with is some gestures. Alright, now a gesture is not like medieval gestures where they make fun of people. A gesture is basically a skeleton or a quick sketch. So go ahead and put that out there. It's a quick, 1 to 2 minute sketch. Alright, basically just to kind of get your bearings. Alright, and it doesn't have to be perfect, and it shouldn't be perfect, but it should be a workable, drawing. Alright, so I'm going to start in my page, or on my page here. I'm going to start fleshing things out. So for the next minute or so, I'm going to go silent, and I'm really just going to start sketching some stuff in. Things I do want you to focus on are big clusters of shapes. Alright, so as you see this, think about some big areas, and then I'll come back in just a second and we'll talk about some things that I just did. Alright, so here we go. Okay, so what I've done here is I basically just did what I refer to as a roadmap. Now I would not take a trip unless I knew exactly where I was going. Alright, so like here I've already laid out my paper. I know roughly where things are going. Now if you were watching as I was sketching there, which hopefully you did not try to draw while I was doing that demo. Alright, the first thing I did was I drew in these larger shapes. Alright, so when I look at this piece, alright, I can break it down into this big cluster, this cluster, that cluster of grapes, this larger cluster here, and then really just the shadows back there, and then this single object that's laying out here in the bottom right. So as I look back at my sketch, that's where I started. I laid in big shapes first. Alright, so in my gesture, I really found the basic form that I wanted. Alright, I've got 3 here, 1 there, an oscillation here, and then I've got this nice visual movement of the lines coming from one side to the next. Alright, now once I make my gesture, alright, this is where my analysis kicks in. Now this should be all responsive. I'm responding to what I see. Alright, shouldn't be perfect, should not be anywhere near what what the finished result is. This is just me reacting to what I see. Alright, now where we start getting a little bit more technical part is where we jump into basically stage 2, alright, and these are contours. Alright, So basically a contour are the outside, or more importantly, they are the descriptive edges. So as I start drawing, all right, I'm going to, go in this mess that I've already made. I've kind of done a little bit of breaking up of some of the grapes, but I'm going to go in and just start defining the edges. All right, so first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to start with this grape right here. All right, and in that grape, I'm going to start with the shape. All right, I know I should break that border a little bit because it's taller than most of the objects there, and I know I've got the stem here on top of the grape, so I'll start fleshing that out. All right, and then I'm going to put the grape underneath it, really just working on defining the edge. All right, these shouldn't be just circles, they shouldn't just be circular shapes. Grapes are a lot more organic. All right, they twist and turn and bulge and stuff like that. So like this one is a little bit more leaning, all right, to the right side of it. All right, this is much more elongated. All right, now I am going to I've got these three, then I'm going to jump to the fourth, so I am going to put some more contours in here. This one has changed shape, so it's a little bit more pushing outward, so I'm kind of projecting out of the space a little bit. I have a stem, maybe a grape has been broken off or eaten there, and I got a couple back here that are wonderfully hidden. There's that one, and then a little darker grape is right there. Alright, so that starts to finish up that cluster. Now each of these are sitting on a large graper that's right here. Alright, now it's a little darker, so just because I want to make sure I have my little keystone or replace the rest, I'm going to darken that grape up. Alright, then I'm going to start pulling some other grapes out of it. Now this will start getting me into my other cluster. Alright, now this grape is dark, but the shadow around the grape is darker. So those are edges. So not only is the shadow or the contour the edges of the object, all right, the shadows in the negative space also have subsequent edges. So I want to go ahead and work on those. Each time I'm defining, all right, just the edges. All right, now cast shadows also have edges, and I'm going to put those in. Now I can see right here, I don't need this object. I'll throw this up here. I've already got this top one. I've got that grape right there. All right, I've got all this information behind it, but nothing down here. So this is where I was talking about it's okay to make mistakes. All right, easily erase that out. Still get that bulge in there. All right, for the grape, I put this here. I start throwing in the vines behind it. All right, these are the vine that connects here. There is a wonderful little leaf that sits there that we'll go back in and tidy up in a second. Alright, I've got that. There's a grape here that's rather hidden that goes into the front cluster. And then I do have some cast shadows that I'm going to throw in here as well. Now when I work on the contours, I really want to shape the grapes, so I'm almost kind of sculpting out. So my pencils are not doing this. When I work with cast shadows, I really just want to pick one specific direction for them all to go in. So whether it's here or back here by this bigger cluster, alright, I'm really just going to let these diagonally flow so that I can go ahead and shape that in so you can kind of see what I'm talking about. Alright, now I've got that cast shadow located here, so I'm going to move back to the front and sketch there. Alright, really just kind of digging out the grapes. Alright, I say digging because this kind of drawing is really sculptural in nature. So as a sculptor, you're always kind of filling and changing and adding to and taking away. So kind of letting this mimic that concept. So really just kind of, not trying to be nailed down to anything in particular at first, but letting the shape, allowing the pencil, allowing how I see things, allowing all those reactions to really shape those contours. Alright, now from here I want to go ahead and get the stem in the background and kind of work on its shape. because the stem will be for this side of the drawing. It's going to be really important, and if I wait to the last to do it, then I may take away from the grapes, or I may cover up something. So I'm going to go ahead, throw in a couple extra lines here, and then last I'm going to do, I'm going to throw in the remainder grapes here. Now this part does get kind of tricky because you are working from a photograph, so your response to what's here can change. Alright, now if you've seen the photograph a couple times, you're more than welcome to rewind back so that you can really see exactly what I'm trying to sketch. I would, as you watch this, whether you're watching on a computer or on your phone, you could take a picture. When I show you the reference image, take a picture of that so you have something to reference. Maybe as you're listening or whatever, you can kind of flip back and forth to actually see that on your screen. So now as I finish up this piece, I'm going to get this grape. Here's another good example of just using that diagonal shading. Alright, that way it matches here and there. Alright, and then I'm going to go back in here and I'm going to develop the contours of my grapevines and some of the cast shadows. But once I get those in, then I'm really going to make sure that I have side-to-side shading so that the next part of this winds up being a lot more identifiable. Alright, so with this cast shadow shading, everything there is nice and dark and it's flat on the surface. Alright, once again, and I keep saying once again, but I'm trying to transition a lot. When you look at this, this is a sketch. This is not a finished piece. Alright, and the whole purpose of the drawing boot camp is to work on your ability to sketch and to respond. And then we'll take that sketchiness and we start working on projects in class, then you have something to build upon. You have a little bit more intuition on how to attack a piece. Alright, now from here, the third concept that we want to work on today is what's called cross contouring. Alright, now if a contour describes the outside edge, the cross contour is going to describe the surface area. And this is how we start figuring out how we're going to shade. So the place that I'm going to show you how to do this is here on this isolated grape. Alright, we know we got a good outside shade. Alright, and a lot of times, cartoonists, and if people says, oh, your work is really cartoony or graphic, alright, that's because they're talking about this hard edge out here. Alright, and what happens is that you put more emphasis on this hard edge than you put on the creation of the surface or the roundness, alright, of the piece. So this cross contouring. This is that you're describing the surface area. So whereas the contour basically lays out any kind of descriptive edges, your cross contour describes the surface between. Alright, so if this came up and it kind of bulged or protruded in, then these lines tell that. Alright, and why these are important, and as we go through a lot more value and shading demonstrations, is that these give you the ability to figure out where the shadows are, alright, or the textures, or the the bend or the twist or turn of that particular object. Alright, so I'm going to show you this one, this one more, and then you need to take and finish this up to where you have not only the gesture, the good defined edges with the cast shadow, but also a cross contouring example. So let's go back to this grape up here. Alright, now whereas this one I started just kind of rounding, and I even showed you how to dent the grape a little bit. Alright, this one I want to work from the stem out. So it's going to kind of make this look like a honeycomb. Alright, but then as I start shadowing, I know that the cast shadow is over here, so the shaded area is on the bottom. Alright, so this gives me notations and it gives me ideas on where and how to shade that piece. Alright, so I'm going to leave you with the final image. Alright, so this is what your piece should be striving toward. Notice the darks here. This is the shaded side to side. Alright, you can look at, make sure you have the right number of grapes. You have the cast shadow here. Alright, but I've given you enough information now. I'll let you turn it loose and you can take over and develop your set of grapes all by yourself. Alright, hope you enjoyed today's sketch lesson, and we'll be back for another wonderful lesson next class.